of victims playing a real life Squid Game. This story is awful, horrendous, and sickening. And if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend watching it. I'll put the link in the description for part 1. It's insane. It's actually insane. This is a story about something that happened in Korea in the 80s during dictatorship. This whole scenario is wild, and we're going to complete the summary video for part 2. Let's check it out.
Bada bing, bada boo.
Bada bing, bada
This
boom.
is the Brothers' Home, a government-funded camp to cleanse the humans of South Korea for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But instead, the welfare center known as Brothers' Home basically is its own torture facility with sick, twisted games played with these prisoners. This is the inspiration behind the Netflix series Squid Games. It's very interesting because Squid Game, even the actual show, has a lot of interesting components, like the fact that there's so many familial dynamics at play in season 2. So for example, in the new round of Squid Games, there's a mother and son duo. The two of them, they meet in the games. I mean, how is that going to play out? If it's just like the first games, there's only one standing.
That's kind of sick. That's a sick premise to add.
Can't be both the mother and the son. It's a complicated feeling. Are you happy to see the person that you have been praying to see for years? Or do you feel sad and miserable and depressed that they're going to share the same fate as you and that nobody can save either of you? 12-year-old Jung, one day he hears a familiar voice. Jung, are you eating well? It's his dad. Turns out, after Jung disappeared, Jung's dad spent a year searching for him, trying to figure out where the hell is my 12-year-old son. Also, the police, they're not telling him that his son has been taken into Brothers' Home. They're just saying, oh, I don't know. Maybe he ran away. Who cares about your son?
I mean, police
Are the one that took him in.
Yeah, they're the one that kidnapped.
They don't even tell him. Just help me find my son. Where is my son? You must help me. The police take one look at him, and they smell the alcohol in his breath. And they think, what a vagrant. Take him in.
Wow.
12
Because he smelled bad.
year-old Jung, he's out in the courtyard one day and his eyes are glazed over, just trying not to get burnt by the sun. He's squinting and he looks up and his heart starts pounding. He notices all the guards are busy. And there's been this one building he's always looked at, because if you were to get to the roof of that building, it's tall enough that you could potentially jump onto the ledge of the wall that's blocking them. So he takes the chance. He jumps from the roof, lands on the ledge of the wall, scrapes himself from all the blood. He jumps down and just starts booking it. There's no looking back. He's sprinting through the woods, scraping his face. He can't even keep his eyes fully open because the branches are slamming into him and he doesn't want to slow down. He's just running. He made it. This is freedom. He made it past the walls. The only thought.
Don't tell me something's gonna stop it, man. Like, I feel like when we know the government is behind this, where do you go?
Being, I have to escape this hell no matter what. There is no other way. It's an even more complicated feeling though, because at first Jung said it feels very surreal. He escaped, he's free.
Yeah.
But then he starts panicking. His dad is still there. But he also starts panicking more because he realizes he was only ever taught, ever since he was a little kid, hey, when you're in danger, report it to the police station and
you
ask
can't
the police
trust
for
them.
help. Now what? Jung decides if he's going to get his dad out, he still has to try and survive until then. He finds, ironically, a newspaper distribution center. He starts working there, sleeping there, eating there, and then one day the cops barge in and they take him in. They arrest him. When Jung opens his eyes, he's back in a blue tracksuit in a bunk bed at the Brothers' Home.
That is fucking nuts. Oh my god.
You are kidding me.
Yeah.
How long was he out?
A few months. But he's a lot more bloodier now from all the beatings from running away. He said in that moment, he realized, I'm never gonna get out of here. I'm never gonna get out of here, at least alive. And like I said, some of them are as young as 4. Some of them are elderly people. The torture is non-discriminatory. Everybody's getting tortured. And the torture doesn't even end with the twisted activities. There are 2 time slots for food for the day. There's 3,500 people who have 30 minutes to eat.
Let's go a little back.
It doesn't even end with the twisted activities. There are 2 time slots for food for the day. There's 3,500 people who have 30 minutes to eat. Everyone only has about 3.5 minutes to grab their food, sit down, inhale it before getting up for the next people to sit down. People are getting smacked and beaten up if they're not eating fast enough. You would spend at least the greater chunk of that time just gagging. The food is almost always the same. It's rotten rice. So the rice, they leave it in these
Rotten rice! Now that sounds like a great way to get sick. Like, that's what I'm saying. They're doing these methods where they're putting, like, forcing them to drink salt water and putting salt water all over them. They're really dehydrating them. And now they're giving rotten rice. That's contaminated with so many bacterias. This can turn awfully bad. They can get really sick. I'm doing great. Just waiting for my my fast. Oh, yeah. Are you fasting because of Ramadan? Well, I wish you the best.
damp containers and they become
Enjoy food,
moldy.
enjoy.
And there's those rice bugs everywhere. They don't rinse the rice. They don't get rid of the bugs. They just steam it just like that. Fermented fish,
Ugh.
but the fish is always rotten. There would
I must say now, I just, dude, either I book it out or I'm dying. This is insane. Well, protein? No. That ain't no protein, brother. That's no protein in that.
be some soup on some days, but it would just be water with nasty oil
Ugh.
floating around and then little radishes just floating around. It is not only a nutritionless meal, every single ingredient is moldy, spoiled, and to the point that it was almost decaying. There's still not enough food given to you to fill your stomach. Everyone in there is starving at all times of the day. Everybody is malnourished. It's hard to say which part of that is worse. Is it the torture games? Is it the food? Or is it that nonstop itch that you feel? Almost every single person in Brothers Home has a severe skin disease. Most of them have severe eczema and their skin is just raw. It's throbbing. They're forced to scrub themselves on this sensitive skin with coarse salt. During the winter, the ice cold water combined with the salt is so unbearable, everyone avoids washing at all. Just when you think you're used to it. At night, it's the intense, inescapable itch of pubic lice. The only chance of getting rid of
Bro, just kill them. Like, why are they playing around with them like that? If they hate, didn't. So the whole idea was to remove peasants. Why are you playing around with them for so long like this? Like, this is just insane.
the lice is once a week, you get a hot water bath for 2 seconds. It also doesn't help that you only have 2 pairs of clothes. Everyone's fingernails look like they've been gnawed off by rats. They're always trimmed incredibly short. There are only
This is
5 nail
evil, dude,
clippers
yeah.
for the whole place. But if you have long nails, you get beat. So everybody just chews off their nails.
Whoa.
But there's no money in the torture itself because that's what doesn't make sense.
They're just getting tortured for no reason. Like that. Like, I mean, just sadistic fuck having fun, I guess. But like, what's the point of this? Like,
Who is funding the Brothers Home? Why does it exist? So if the government funds Brothers Home and every quote unquote vagrant that gets brought in, there's government subsidies. The people who run Brothers Home, they get paid per person per day. But that's not where the real money is.
Oh.
Brothers Home is this crazy trickle of money. The facility gets paid by the government just for housing the vagrant.
now that's why they're keeping them barely alive. Okay. So housing the, okay. So they're getting tax dollars for just having them there. So that's why they are barely spending any money to keep them alive, but they are alive.
But Brothers Home is like, why don't we make more money? Because what are they doing all day? These people that we have laying around. Let's have them work. Toys, children's toys, stationery, baby shoes, toothpicks. That's what they're making. The worst part was a lot of the kids worked in fishing hook factories. They have to make fishing hooks.
Oh,
They say when you
no.
work that quickly making fishing hooks, the
Yeah, you probably hook yourself and hurt yourself a lot.
hook gets stuck under your fingernails. And when you pull it out, your nail gets pulled out as well. You have to tear the flesh to get them out. There's not even time to think about what you're doing. It's just
What the
constant thoughts
fuck?
of, if I don't do this, the beating is going to be worse than this. They keep working faster and faster. One survivor says, the day starts at 5. We make our beds. We have to do that in 5 seconds, very quickly, like the military. If not, you're going to get beaten by the guard the first thing in the morning. Then they do roll call. Then you go outside. Then you do the washroom with just salt. 3 seconds of water, salt for face wash, salt as toothpaste. Then they would be sent off to the factories. Another survivor states, after all of that, 14 and 15-year-olds were forced to carry sacks that weighed 60 pounds back and forth for construction to happen. All those buildings
Oh, they're building it too, huh?
were built by them. The director of Brothers Home was smart. He's not a religious man. But Survivor said they
Well,
used religion
clearly.
to add more money to their business. If there's no religion involved in their center, who would donate money? It's a government-funded facility. But you tell people, I'm Christian. I'm a Christian doing good things. I need donation money. Donation money from foreigners would flood in. They would donate just cases of clothes. And the kids were forced to write thank you notes to all the donors because you need it in childish handwriting.
It's kind of worse when you see it. You hear these stories about these kids and you see the kids. But like, these are the kids that went through this. Man.
Sometimes they would have American donors stop by and everyone would prepare for months. The kids would put on plays. They would dance around. They'd be forced to do all these things. And then once they leave, they have to give everything back. And in Squid Games, there's this subplot. The guards, the pink uniform wearing guards in Squid Games, they will take the bodies that they've shot down, the losers of the game, if you will, and they're supposed to shoot them dead. But instead of killing them, they immobilize them. Then they take them into this little bunker where a doctor shows up to try and sell the organs, take out the organs. It's very fascinating, the levels of profit. So the VIP clients, they get their entertainment out of these people dying, out of watching them kill each other for survival and for money. That's their entertainment. To the guards that are one step above the contestants, they take advantage of the contestants by, in death, selling their organs and profiting. The same goes for Brothers Home. The facility will...
If I remember correctly, that was not like, it was just a specific guards that did that. It was not, they were not meant to do that. But some specific guard did that, like, behind bars to sell organ to make some more money. I mean, yeah.
continue to profit even if the victims die. The total number of people that died is said to be around 551, but it's likely that the numbers are far higher than that. One survivor says, there are so many graves there. If you look behind the church where the weeds grow thick, some days you would see mounds being made, just so many. There's like a bathhouse there. Right in front of it is this incinerator. A lot of bones would come out of that incinerator. Sometimes, if the beating scars aren't that bad, they would sell them for medical studies. They would body farm. They would sell the bodies.
Just like Squid Game.
Yes. One victim states, people were starved, beaten, and killed, and their deaths were never reported. They just buried them or sold them. Han and his older sister, they're dragged to the police station by their dad. Their dad's always been very irresponsible when he's drunk, but it never was like this bad. There were beatings here and there, but this felt very different. He drags them to the police station. Stay here, Dad will be back. It's unclear if he was trying to abandon his kids because it was too much responsibility, or whether he was in some sort of trouble and he wouldn't be home for a few days. The police don't care. They throw the two, Han and his sister, into the back of the refrigerated windowless van.
Oh my God.
They drive them to Brothers Home. And his older sister keeps trying to escape with him. Every single time she stands in the field, she would sprint towards him, ready to escape with him. But she has no plan. She has no plan. She would just try to grab his hand and say, I'm going to protect you. Let's go. We're going to go home. And every time she would get slammed down onto the ground and beaten in front of Han. He says the beatings, torture, and punishments, it wouldn't stop her from getting to me. He says his older sister is especially smart and capable. She's like the only blood relative that taught Han anything, because they're poor village kids. He doesn't know how to write. She would teach him. And then on their way home one day, this is when they were free, he saw this 달고나 cart. Oh, it's just all full circle. And he's like, sister, can I get a 달고나? And she doesn't have money. So she says, you know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to make it for you. He says, my sister put a ladle on the briquette stove. It was her first time doing this. She poured in sugar, added a little bit of soda. When I kept pushing on her and like dragging her shirt saying, "Can you hurry? I really want 달고나." And she dropped the ladle. It fell all over her foot. She has a severe burn because the sugar crystallizes and it sticks to you all over her foot. He says, "I still remember that incident." Han says his sister was always somebody that protected him. And even now, she keeps trying to protect him by having them escape. But all that's happening is she keeps getting beat over and over again. When Han got beat on the field, she would run and cover his body with her own. And it would just result in both of them getting beat. And Han mentions that people from his sister's platoon would come to him and report back the types of torture that were inflicted on her because she tried to save her brother. And the types of torture, you can imagine what they are, especially being a woman in a facility like this. Eventually, she was taken to the psych ward where Han would climb the window just to see her. There was a few platoon leaders that he liked, like the guards, where they were tall and they would let him climb on top of their shoulders to see in through the window just to see his sister. And he thought maybe if she sees my face, she'll get better. But when he looks into the room, she doesn't even recognize him because they have her on they have her on antipsychotics that she does not need, on high doses every single day. It's like they're zombies. That's how they describe them. He says, every time I went to check on my sister to see if she was ever getting better, she was always laying down with her hands tied. Then one day, Han hears a voice that he recognizes behind.
I mean, at one point they turn into zombies. They're non-functioning. If you're drugging the hell out of them, you're beating them up. I mean, you're turning a human into a blob. And that's what's happening here. Like this sister, this is some real freaking sibling love and protection. This is some crazy ass stuff. This is amazing to hear in a way. But it's horrific to hear how she, after all of this, there are no ending. Is nauseating? It is. This whole thing, all of this makes you sick. It makes you feel like a ball in your belly, like a ball in your stomach, and it's disgusting.
Behind him. Have you been well? And he freezes. He can't even turn around. How's your sister doing? It's his dad.
He's in a tracksuit too?
Just like Jung's dad, Han's dad is in a suit, a tracksuit.
Bro, they just picked everybody up, huh? This peasant idea, I don't think this is like completely real. I think this was basically a flat line of choice. But these guys are trying to pick up anybody they can so they can make more money. Pretty much.
He said the thought that I could never escape this place now tormented me. Seeing his dad, Han said he just had this overwhelming feeling. And these were the words that kept repeating in his mind while he was in the welfare center, which is with
there were probably some music playing, and Stephanie used YouTube remove audio. That's why they removed the background music, so she sounds really odd now. So completely ignore that.
Knife. With a knife. He didn't know what it meant. It was just always with a knife. I'm going to do it with a knife. With a knife. The next time Han would ever see his dad outside of brother's home, he would have a knife in his pocket, ready to kill him.
시청자분들께서 이 형제복종 사건을 접하면서 혹시 이게 너무 심각하게 여러분들이 상처가 되지 않았으면 좋겠고 앞으로 이런 일들이 없게끔 대한민국뿐만이 아니라 전 세계에 이런 일들이 발생하지 않도록 어떤 국가적 정책이 만들어질 때 정확하게 좀 분별력 있게 파악하고 지지할 건 지지하고 안 될 거는 아니다라고 목소리를 내주셔야지 우리 가족 같은 사태가 또 안 만들어질 거라고 저는 보고 있습니다.
That is part 2.
I'm just glad to see the sister alive. I'll be real, man. If I was him, I'd do everything in my freaking power to make this sister happy. Oh my god, I just want to hear the end again. I feel like I didn't hear that properly.
Down with her hands tied. Then one day, Han hears a voice that he recognizes behind him. Have you been well? And he freezes. He can't even turn around. How's your sister doing? It's his dad.
He's in a suit, tracksuit too?
Just like Jung's dad, Han's dad is in a suit, a tracksuit. He said the thought that I could never escape this place now tormented me. Seeing his dad, Han said he just had this overwhelming feeling. And these were the words that kept repeating in his mind while he was in the welfare center, which is, with a knife, with a knife. He didn't know what it meant. It was just always, with a knife. I'm going to do it with a knife, with a knife. The next time Han would ever see his dad outside of Brother's home, he would have a knife in his pocket, ready to kill him.
시청자분
She doesn't look like she's doing so well. At least she's alive. I mean, after constantly being drugged up and beaten for years, a human will turn into a blob. I bet she has issues, for sure. She probably has a lot of scars, but she's alive and she's with her family now. No human can just completely be normal after getting that amount of doses for a long duration and constantly be beaten up. Like, it will completely break your mentality, your brain, and your physical body. It tears you down.
Games, the real story behind
Trauma for sure. Trauma is just one thing, but your brain will be forever damaged and your body will be forever damaged.
Squid Games. Leave your thoughts in the comments and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, I would like to know more about this one. If there's if the longer video is talking more about their story, I'll definitely watch that in the future. But this was sickening. It is sickening to hear that. And every time again, I hear so much crime in Korea about Korea's history. It's insane. It makes it really sad because I think that whenever you viewed Korea, it was like this perfect, great place, and this probably is a really great spot. But man, there's a lot of nasty history that's been happening in the recent years. Like, think about it, the 80s, guys. Now, we were not alive, or maybe you were alive in the 80s, but I was not alive in the 80s. Maybe the viewers not alive in the 80s, but the 80s wasn't that long ago. 90s weren't that long ago. 2000s were not that long ago. So hearing this shit in such a recent year is mind-blowing. But yeah, you tell me down below what your thoughts are around this video. Like the video if you enjoy the react. Sub to the channel if you want to watch more. And then when you get with me live, you're free to come by my Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Adley. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. Bye-bye.